going towards the Neferi is kind of the safer of the three. Because Jace and Gwen in the same composition, it feels difficult to pull off. I feel like Neferi and Jace or Neferi and Gwen, you can definitely do a lot of the time. Will it just be Talia Skarner as the option? No, Talia Zinzao. Okay, very interesting. That'll be Shadow's choice of jungle here. Does mean that I feel like Skarner prioritizes for game 2. Not to think about game 2 already, but
yeah,
with these junglers out, these are some of the better junglers into that Skarner. As what will JDG go towards? Off this Neferi B1. Jace, okay.
Those are like 2 of the big OPs, right? So
yeah,
that's pretty good for JDG.
2 out of 3. Oh, the Gwen was banned. I actually completely misread that. So yeah, it was always just between the Neferi and the Jace, and JDG have somehow managed to get both. So no biggie there. Will it just be Ahri? Ahri with Neferi? I mean, I don't mind it as a diving. I feel I was gonna say I feel like you want more consistent setup and CC, and definitely this Rise suits that significantly more. Now Sheer, yeah, okay.
Sion, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna blind the Jace, you gotta worry about that happening, especially if we're in the first game and Sion hasn't been banned or taken away. So Sheer gonna be on that. Has played it actually a decent chunk of the season so far. As even though he's more known as a bit of that carry-oriented top laner, can whip out the tanks as well as enter the second phase.
It's also got to be said, like, this is a pretty good opening for FPX so far. They've got Talia into, Rise and Neferi. I feel like Talia can kind of hold her own in that lane matchup 1 versus 1. The terrain control is always very difficult to navigate if you're an immobile champion like the Rise. And then, of course, the Neferi is going to be diving in. It does, of course, have the invulnerability, or the untargetability, rather, to try and get around some of that CC. But still, sooner or later, unless you play it genuinely perfectly, you're going to run into an issue somewhere along the line. As FPX actually going to hit on the Ziggs. The Varus made a lot of sense, just because you don't really want to give over a lane bully. And if you're not looking to pick up a hyper carry, or rather, if you're looking to pick up a hyper carry here, it's certainly an annoying champ to deal with. As JDG remove a consistent form of engagement and all this, I wouldn't be surprised to see them take away the Leona as well. It's another one of Jwei's favorites, though could technically be a Rel, I guess, if they wanted to. Kai'Sa, all right, let's shift the focus over. So to me, Misfortune looks pretty good here. If you're Assume, you could also look towards a more traditional hyper carry, even in this spot if you really wanted to. As the Renata being hovered, I wonder if they'll actually lock it. They do.
There it is.
So if JDG want, they could lock in Kalista and they could lock in Nico, and they probably won't be able to kill Sheer, but the rest of the composition will probably have a hard time existing. Corki.
That's the problem, because now that Sheer's here, we've seen what Scions have been able to do in the LPL once they get just a little bit too tanky in the right situation. So it looks like Peyz wants a little bit more of that tank shred, goes for the Corki here, and we'll see what Missing decides to go and play into this Renata Glass that's been set up.
You're just gonna tank the bad matchup? I feel like
it works well for the comp, I guess.
Yeah, it does work well for the comp. Adds a small layer of frontline, right? Like Rel is she's not a high economy tank by any means, but it will do its job for sure. So lane might suck, but outside of that, it's really about what plays Missing can make. And I mean, the Kalista wasn't taken away, so
we saw this pick why not in like all 3 games last series, so it seemed to have like pretty high prio, and it made it all the way through to the 5th pick this time around.
I think the reason why they took the Renata is they just kind of accepted that they felt like they would get a good support matchup no matter what. And if JDG decided to go Kalista, then what would have likely happened is that FPX would have answered with an Ashe on 5.
Yeah.
Though, of course, you could have run into the issue of having a much poorer support matchup in the lane than you did. So I feel like FPX really need to utilize how much pressure this bot lane matchup should be able to squeeze out here. Corki, though, can definitely go toe-to-toe early on with damage against this Kalista. It's just about not letting the trade go on too long so that those Ren stacks are a little bit more than you can deal with.
Yeah, for Assume, one of the newest players of this FPX roster, joining before split number 2 and actually being maybe a big difference maker in terms of what this team has been able to do in Split 2 compared to Split 1. Now, in Group Ascend, coming off of a 2-0 win over Weibo, taking a game even off of teams like Anyone's Legend. Now the next chance and their next task will be to look competitive here against JDG. Now that has not been easy for any team so far in the LPL. No team has won a game against JDG in this Ascension group so far. Maybe it'll be FPX. Maybe it'll be these upsets here, Jamada, as we are getting ready for game number 1.
Maybe, just maybe. Who knows? Again, FPX have pushed a lot of the top teams to 3 games so far. The top teams that they've played, not a lot of the top teams. Remember, they've played 5 series already. This is their 6th one. They have blasted through the schedule. Perhaps you could argue the schedule even mildly, I wouldn't say unfair, but certainly unforgiving for FPX.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But hey, I mean,
especially because they were losing a lot of their early games. So, like,
yeah.
You know, shout out for them for their resilience, I guess. But it's the way the schedule works. Hey, we saw 2 teams last series play their first series of this second split. Now we have FPX playing their 6th. Let's do it. Game number 1 starts.
I'm pretty sure that last guy charted out EDG, unless I misheard that first let up. But
it's like the TSM chants back in the day, except nobody responded.
Yeah, I wonder if because like EDG for a long time were I was right. Okay, cool. I wonder if because you know, like to NA, TSM is like it's kind of a meme right now.
Yeah.
Given where EDG was and where they are now, I wonder if in China, like EDG is the Chinese TSM. Like, is that an apt comparison to make?
In terms of success back in 2015 compared to success now, I'd say it's relatively similar.
It feels close enough. I don't know. I need to ask some of my Chinese experts on the tab.
To be fair, a lot of teams were kind of in the trenches the last couple of years. You think of like FPX, IG, even like they've had their share of not being so good like since their World Championship runs. So it kind of could be anybody at that point. Level 2's hit first by Jwei, as expected in this range versus melee support matchup. You can also see junglers pathing towards opposite sides of the map. Shun will be focused on Ala up on the top side and take advantage of that time.
Yeah, early on, maybe a little bit of pressure going over to Ala. As Shun cannot dash forward. Shadow really didn't like that little dog. Make sure to get rid of it. But both junglers will just continue out on their clear across the map. Though they will end on opposite sides. Does make a lot of sense that Shadow will want to be down here to cover his bot lane, who should be gaining a lot of priority for the majority of this early laning phase. And Shun wants to, of course, keep Ala very safe and secure in this Jace matchup to just ensure that he gets a little bit of safety net on these first couple of waves, clearing up for that first reset.
We say Sion's a good matchup in the Jace. It's not necessarily for what you can do like at this point in the game, pre-level 6. It's maybe once you hit that 1-item power spike, you're able to sustain a lot of the poke that Jace can provide. Slows, you have provide some impact. A little -1 there. It's okay, we didn't see
That's
it.
so unlucky. Tower the tower
like
basically AA reset there, by the way. That's yo, it feels bad for shit.
It's 15 less HP too. Even,
yeah. Soul Furnace. Hey, that 15 HP could mount. Yeah, like right now.
Maybe right now as we go for the dive. That's getting smashed. Actually, he's done it too. Sheer flashes away. Shun could be in trouble, but he goes untargetable, and Ala will flash away with less than 100 HP.
How OP are biscuits? How OP are biscuits and invulnerability?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought at least one of them was dead, but then I forgot that Shun has the invulnerable now for a second.
Yeah. The Fury is not a fair champion. Well executed dive by JDG. When it's all said and done. Yeah. Gonna find a nice trade, but it does suck for his tempo. Scout has reset and has Ghost. I think Care. Well, he's got Jwei in his back pocket.
There he goes. Hey, just the Q. We're missing his all incentive to force Scare's flash. They're actually looking for more. On to Jwei. He has the flash. Bailout should time out in just a little bit. Not going to be enough to pick up that kill. And so missing will secure number 2 for JDG.
Where's the wave? Okay, they're not going to go around. I was wondering how close that wave was to being crashed, but Scout pulls an end to that play. And it's just well played, pushing the envelope. Care was out of mana, right? Care was looking for his first reset. It's going to be pushed back, and it's very catastrophic early game for FPX so far. Shun is going to walk straight into Shadow and Care, though.
Alright, well, this is why you maybe pick that Jin Zhao into the Fury, especially early on. The 1v1s work great, as we see here. Shadow getting a solo kill and making his way right over to the Dragon, where he was perfectly placed after that.
Okay, so Care might not have had his assist stamped on that kill, you know?
Yeah, that's an unofficial assist.
It's like an unofficial assist. He was there to raise morale of Shadow. As yeah, like you called out, it's part of the reason why you do see the Zins out often answered into some of these more, you know, sometimes weaker early picks, which Nefiri technically is, by the way. Just of course has the opportunity to make some of those dive plays happen because of the ease of being able to just reset the tower. Either way, Shadow off to a great start on this Zins out. Will be able to just reset, spend that gold, get up towards the top side. They might lose out on grubs, but they already got the dragon, so not too fast.
So here we are. Grubs available now for Shun to take. I'm gonna way down over to that one. It's, hey, I'll take this so far, Jamada. 3 kills in 6 minutes. That's 8 more than we had last time.
Yeah, this is. Oh, hello.
I think 2v2 kills too. Like this is, or 2v2 fights, summoner spells. I think I could ask for it, man. This is great.
Yeah. Gonna make a play onto Ale. He has no flash. Oh, Ala's dead.
There we go.
Good night,
Ball
Ala.
comes out. It's Terror. Waiting, biding his time, combining his crowd control with shears, and that'll be Shadow with the Crescent Guard picking up the first kill of this exchange. Scout comes in with the Realm Warp, but will be unable to pick up anything in response.
Oh, can they? I was wondering. They could look to have blown Scout's flash there. Shun is going to get the red buff for this play, however. Probably also going to get the crux. So Shun, whilst he may have gotten the grubs and not necessarily been able to find a kill play for himself, he's going to pick up 2 camps, so we'll equalize out some of that depth sales. A really good trade. Oh,
Jwei with the handshake might have just led us into his doom. There goes the
oh,
bailout,
no,
but it will be enough.
Peyz!
That's the 2v2 going to Asum and Jwei.
Just let it Okay. Okay.
Should have just let it time out.
You just gave him the res. I mean, you kind of just have to let him kill him. It's the only way. At least that way you get a 1 for 2. Now you're both dead. Oy, oy, oy. Well,
I thought this was going to be pretty bad.
but also, I just, like, for a second, sorry to cut you.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
handshake. Not ideal.
That.
Not great. But just, yeah. Yeah, Peyz, I think Peyz forgot what bailout does. For a second.
So immediately after the first 2 kills go to JDG, FPX have answered really nicely back. Still need the game state in general. Not much fighting else around here. They're gonna go back after that initial exchange. Right now, the bot lane got a big lead, and that's what we needed to see out of Asum and Jwei against a bot lane as powerful as Peyz missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Need to see them going as close to top as. Okay.
Caster Curse will not. It'll live to see another day. I'm waiting for.
That's
my
what I was worried about.
Yeah.
Your caster curse is quite powerful, young one.
soon.
Okay, well. No one's going to die over a ward yet. Shadow.
we're
waiting with bated breath.
We're testing the gods right now here, Jamada.
Goodness me. Oh well. Grubs and Dragon both up in a minute's time. We'll see if anyone's willing to die for a ward before then. We'll keep you posted. But for now, no one's at a one item spike just yet. Shadow could actually be pretty close to hit. He got 2 kills, remember? That 80 CS after he clears that wolf camp. Or 78. 80, yeah. If he's got Sundered Sky, he can go wherever he pleases.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
And I would please to go towards the grubs, because those are spawning in about 40 seconds. You're going to be very, very powerful in that. But we saw how much damage Shadow was able to do to Shun in that isolated 1v1 setting. That's kind of, I think, still was going to be the story against the Nefiri early on. So FPX would love to even up this grub counter. Somebody like the Jace, so getting some side lane presence throughout this game. Want to make sure he's a good ball.
Him in a place where in a very limited impact. Top laners both in the top side of the map, and mid laners are all the way on the bottom side. Remember, Scout does have Ghost. It's something that we didn't really think about loading into the game. But his overall presence is going to have to be, or rather, his lane assignments, by extension, JDG's lane assignments, are going to be really, really important as we dive further and further into this game. Nice little double rend reset to poke Peyz out there by Assume. Might get forced off this dragon, actually.
1800, Jwei throws out the handshake. That's enough to make Shin go back over the wall. And Shadow says, hey, thanks to the leash. That's dragon number 2 over to FPX.
Yeah, I don't even think he had to smite. I think he could have just taken that for himself, walked back up here, and they could have looked to have recontested these grubs, but I'm just gonna let this one go over. It's a whole objective towards Feats. Scout should be fine, regardless of what Shadow does here.
Not enough damage. Too scary to dive that ride.
Yeah,
it will be 5 out of the 6 grubs here for JDG.
Should be fine. This is a decent early game for FPX, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not pleasantly surprised isn't quite the right word. Like, I half expected this, but you know, seeing it play out is a different thing. Let's just hope they can stay a little bit consistent.
Yeah, it's like the expectations that we had going in versus now what the expectations I think should be, given some of their recent results, I think are very different. So now for FPX, we're looking to see what they can do in terms of the team fights, because I feel like that's where they were able to shine over their last couple of series. A lot of their matchups against like the Weibos and Anyone's Legends, they would go to the 35-40 minute mark. They have a decent composition to kind of do that, although it is a little bit more mid-game oriented with the Callista and with the roaming around the side.
I agree. And again, like just on the grander scheme of this game, like if the game stays quiet, kind of at a slow pace for let's say the next 7 or 8 minutes, that really benefits FPX for the time being. I don't think they scale to I mean, I know they have Sion, but like I feel like they scale to infinity, and eventually he will even take very little damage against the Rise. For the time being, you can see full combo and a bunch of auto attacks. He already takes about 40% of his HP right now from the Jace, who has a Black Cleaver Rush, so it's not even a bad first item.
Yeah. A decent amount here. We are looking for, this fight in the mid lane. Priority is just being generated here. The place has fallen. Oh, 1,500 for FPX. And it's again the mid jungle that has been standing out for them in previous series and also here now. Shadow really having a good go of things. And we have a little bit of an engage on this bottom side. All going in onto Sheer. Another to the skies connects here. I don't think should die from this as the flash will use it against the accelerated shock blast, and now the punish could potentially come in. Shadow will force flash away from the Wind Becomes Lightning as Ala uses that escape. Care on the way as well. Shadow still unrelenting, and there goes the Unraveled Earth. That's kill number 5 to FunPlus Phoenix.
Yeah, and kill number 3 to Shadow. Doing a lot of work here. I mean, he's been involved in every kind of FPX wide kill as hold on.
The trade though. Oh, what an engage from Missing. Will it be enough combined with the damage of Shun? He's a little bit low on mana, but will be able to find it with the help of Peyz on the Gatling gun. That's a shutdown going towards Shadow as JDG get a crucial one back.
Yeah, really important they try and find that. Otherwise, I mean, JDG will feel really bad without those extra kills in their back pocket. But again, I can only really credit FPX for their proactivity so far in this early game. They can pick up that third dragon. I won't say JDG are in trouble, but they're going to be under a lot of pressure to perform. They consistently find, I mean, mostly picks. Before these objectives, Shun is resetting here. Oof. He found out.
A little scary there as Jwei was walking right past, but didn't have much follow-up anyway. Dragon up in 40 seconds. Rift Herald up in 10 at this point. See what the next spot this team's going to look for. A skirmish could be. Talks about some of the semi-globals. Sion has one as well. He's currently situated in the bot lane alongside Scout. The Realm Warp doesn't travel as far as that Sion ulti, so if there is a fight around this Rift Herald, it will be FPX to have a first go at things in terms of the numbers advantage.
Certainly will. To start this one up, Scout is making his way up the map. But like you said, I mean, it's not like Sheer can't follow him. Scout might beat him out by a few seconds at most.
Shadow dashes forward. Shun on the way. Could be a 50-50. It is actually stolen away by JDG and Shun. Will it be enough to try and win the fight, though, as Sheer comes in with the unstoppable onslaught. Is very beefy on this front line, but the poke from Ala is good as well. Now Scout getting potentially caught out. Gets barely away from the handshake. Now Sheer in a bad spot as well. Getting stunned up by Missing. Should go down. And JDG find themselves a big win.
Yeah, I mean, great fight for JDG. Able to just pick apart a very, very messy fight where FPX, it feels like they're not quite sure what direction to go in, who they want to focus. Target eventually ends up being Scout, but so much mobility between the Flash and the Ghost. It's not an easy target. As let's see, does Missing have his driver's license? This is a pretty easy curve. Oh,
pass.
Good pass.
However, Shadow is here to potentially match him. The tower's going to go down. Meanwhile, what is going on over here? We get a potential bid for the dragon, and it's secured by Shun, who gets it instead, but Assume just sends all the Ren stacks into him. Not able to find the finishing touches for that kill. Everybody on JDG is so low, but FPX cannot find the finishing blows. As here comes the teleport from Ala. Now looking for some poke, is blocked by Jwei, and FPX will be able to escape.
That is just depressing for Assume. The first Ren is like 200 HP short, and he had so many spears in Shun's back. Just to flash forward and also not find the second kill. Great sidestep from Ala. He's going to get this one, maybe. I mean, he's got Shun in his back pocket.
Here.
And FPX, they acknowledge that. That's a bit of a tilter, and that sequence in general actually swung the gold a lot. Ooh, yeah. Oh, Jwei!
Just hiding in the bush. Now Ala, he can't sidestep that. He'll go down, and Sean stuck in a bad position potentially, but the rest of JDG is still here. Scout doing a lot of damage, but is running the wrong way. He's gonna get eaten up by a turret shot, and Sheer picks up the shutdown. Weaver's Wall comes out. FPX winning a big fight in the bottom lane. That is 4 kills to their name.
4-2-1, and Peyz is taking red buff. That's a huge fight for FPX. I mean, I was just talking about how the gold swing on that previous sequence from the Herald down to here was absolutely massive. That's going to look fantastic on the gold graph in the PGB, by the way. Because now we're back to even. This was a game where For about 30 seconds, JDG had a 2,000 gold lead. Just for that to be broken apart, and now they're likely going to end up almost a K down. Arla just gets baited by this brief looking at Care. He's immediately deleted. Then Realmwalk comes in from Scout with missing. Shun gets 1v1 by Shadow. And Scout ends up on the wrong side. It's just a disaster. Disaster.
And like some of the tools were going maybe in the right way for JDG, but FPX able to collapse on that super nicely. Now you have the mid jungle once again. We're highlighting for FPX as being top performers. They're in really good positions right now in this game.
Yeah, very good. Again, this is what we want to see out of FPX. Even if, I mean, the odds likely are not to be a Debbie Downer. JDG will probably win this series. If we're to believe, you know, the statistics. But FPX have, time and time again, so far, really proven a lot of doubters very wrong. If not in the actual results, certainly in the performance. And important to note, they're 1-4, yes, but they're only down 3 games in terms of the actual individual match score. So they've really been fighting tooth and nail every single series. And these opening 20 minutes is proving that this will be another one of them.
And when you look at like even this, it was interesting to look at the standings of all 10 of those teams in the Ascension bracket, where technically FPX was last because they've played the most games in terms of, like, it had the most losses in win percentage, but in terms of game win loss, it was only -3, and that was similar to, you know, teams more towards the middle. Just to show, like, in terms of the amount of games played, FPX certainly in the running for being a little bit better than originally anticipated. And I think it combines with another interesting point about how the playoff format actually works here as well. As I have to hold that thought. It's getting a little scrappy around this river here. Never mind. Anyway, the way it works, top 4, I believe, get a spot automatically in the playoffs. Then bottom 6 of Ascent, and then top 2 of Nirvana, they play like a seeded best of 5, one single best of 5 against each other to get into the playoff bracket. And so what I was saying when I was covering a team like WE a few days ago was that even if you don't necessarily win a ton of your games, right now it's about getting the experience against some of these top teams right now to prepare yourself for that eventual best of 5. Because it's going to be one best of 5 to determine if you make it into the playoffs or not. You've already secured yourself a spot in Split 3. You're not at a risk like the Nirvana teams in terms of potentially missing out on that opportunity. And so getting the opportunity for FPX to play in this Ascend group, you get all these games against these like top teams, and so just taking advantage of it and making sure you try to improve, which I think they've done really well so far early this year.
Yeah, absolutely they have. It does leave me very hopeful for you know, better summer performances. Now JDG, they did start this Atacon. Are they still on it?
Oh, they're getting
very clearly
pressured off of it.
Backed away. It's just Shun. I mean, there is no vision here for FPX. So
yeah, do they not know this is happening, or are they just gonna try to trade for Dragon?
I mean, even if they don't know it's happening, they'll take the Dragon kind of happily. Getting to Soul Point uncontested does feel quite nice. The only issue is going to be the XP, because they're about to gain almost a full level. You'll see it on the left-hand side of the screen once Shun picks up all those flowers. And that's an even bigger deal when you consider that Scout's got Rod of Ages. So as he finishes picking up all these flowers, he's now halfway, a little bit shy of halfway to level 15, which is actually just halfway to level 16, because he has Rora transforming in like less than a minute's time.
And that'll be probably right around when he gets the level up, so
yeah. And I know that this is also what the Chinese cast is talking about, because we're hovering over Scout when nothing else is going on. So I love these little moments.
I know. Then
it's like
it makes
League
me
of Legends
feel
just transcending language for a moment.
It makes me feel smart. We're talking about the right thing, because that's what
Does makes you feel in sync, you know.
Yeah.
No matter the language. Well, we spoke about that level discrepancy that will soon be looming between Scout and Care. I'd also like to draw your eyes to Peyz, who is almost 2 clear levels above Assume. Despite only having about a 700 gold lead. It's a large amount of XP. Even, you know, Atacon is only really doing 80% of a level-ish. So, really big deal. That far up there. Scout's level 16 ding. As the rower helps him achieve that. Baron's up. And now we'll see, likely, Grapes. A very, very big skirmish around this purple worm in the next couple of minutes. Missing.
Yeah, it might be close to now. As Care, I think he realized that he might be in trouble, had to use that Weaver's Wall to get out. Spotted on, Missing was spotted on that ward, so there was no opportunity to go in there.
It's starting to get a little bit scary for FPX. That I don't want to say running out of time flat.
Yeah, they slowly
on a hard time
given up
here,
their lead. That's for sure.
Exactly, and this is the part of the game now where JDG start to feel really strong on spike. Scout is at level 16. His overloads and spell fluxes are at their maximum, you know, damage capacity. And well, I say maximum in level, yes, but they can chunk out more with the AP that he's gonna surely acquire. This game goes on as Shadow.
Dashes in. Wow! Missing just gets one shot there by Shadow and co. Care doing a big chunk of it with the seismic shove, but big rocket from Peyz. It chunks FPX down a bit as well.
They have an idea.
In the wings.
They have an idea.
I don't know if they know he's there just yet. Oh, the flash handshake goes wide, and that means Scout's able to survive for just a little bit longer. He got the bailout potentially to save him. Assume gets the kill, and that's 2-0 FPX.
Yeah, 2-0. Jungler and support. Dude, support and mid. Scout plays so supportively. I'm just like the jungler for the last 2 years.
He died in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they can get Baron off this. It certainly looks to try and find a little bit of self if they really want, but the recalls have actually come out. We saw a teleport out Sheer too, so I guess it's gonna kind of be a couple of nothing kills, just some picks, some summoner spells, of course. And once you come out of this replay, we'll assess what's missing, but once the aftershock procs off, I mean, Rel spoke about it's pseudo tankiness, right? It's not really a true frontliner with the rest, like perhaps the rest of this composition needs. They split out Scout somewhere along the line because the Realm War, probably out of vision, they would have seen the effects. Yeah. Let's try their best to find him. They do.
Taking a deep breath before we get into an interesting game state here, Jamada. A minute until potential Ocean Soul available for FunPlus Phoenix. They've got things right back to even in terms of gold, and when you look at where that's allocated, you're feeling pretty good about where things are at. Assume at 3 full items now with that Terminus completed. We're looking at nearly that Zanya's here for Care. However, on the other side, carries for JDG also very strong. Most notably, Peyz picked up that Spear of Shojin. It's going to be doing a ton of damage, weaving those spells in between the auto attacks.
I haven't really seen Peyz utilize these items so far. I think that's more because of just how JDG have been fighting. It's not really a slight on him.
Oh, missing! Gets face check there, and Sheer combines with everybody on his team to pick up another kill for FPX, and now they have a numbers advantage for potential Dragon Soul fight, but they don't want just the soul. They could potentially want more. They're going to try to clear this mid wave out and go right back to the pit. They want to take things a little bit slower. However, be careful though, as Scout is pushing on this bottom lane tier 2.
Yeah. Are they just going to leave him there? Full bluff. Let it go over. I mean, this Dragon's gone. JDG will not be securing this one. Now they might find Scout.
Okay, Scout looks like he's going to take the tower basically on his own. The blast cone goes over the wall, and that's Shun just getting killed instantly. Allah's next up. It's a double kill for Assume. Teleport comes in. They're looking for Peyz now, and Care is going to cut him right off. Already the flash been forced. He gets the Valk away to safety, and that's Baron now on the eyes of FPX.
And they've got Ocean Soul to boot too, so They're gonna heal up as they do this one. Scout, he's on a bit of a flank. I don't think it's enough to really stop this FPX play from happening. Just gonna take away his red buffs, sneak that one over, but I feel like the bounty of FPX is a little bit more valuable. JDG doing what they can to strip away some towers. Get that tier 2 in the mid lane. Scout wants this wave. He's gonna get it. But my oh my, what a messy game from JDG, and what an excellent capitalization on a team who have just been asleep at the wheel by FPX.
Yeah, I mean, we're still even in gold, but in terms of the momentum of this game, certainly FPX favored, as Shadow, being very aggressive here, actually takes a big chunk of damage for Peyz. So you can see this Corki is strong. It's just JDG have not been putting their main carries in the best positions to actually win these fights that they should be able to take advantage of given how strong their carries are.
Yeah, now it is important to add that despite all of the kind of big deaths that JDG have had, the gold being even at the minute is very corresponding with like the items in inventory right now for JDG. So game is far from over, but you know, you're dealing with Ocean Soul, dealing with a Jace with a Scion rather, who you just have to feel is gonna kind of be unkillable now with this Ocean Soul.
Yeah.
How do you kill that guy?
You see the Lord Doms in the works potentially for Peyz, although we're not there just yet. Just the last Whisper completed. The Corki does a lot of damage, but at least at this point, not a ton to shear. As gone for a more AD focused build instead of the crit. As now, all a match here in the side lane. It's not going too well for the Jace.
They can just group around this guy if they want. That's exactly what they're doing. Okay. Why bother?
Lag behind him. Wait for the waves to crash in. If FPX get met with any challenges from JDG, then the rest of the squad will be here. Looks like these are the areas of control FPX are trying to lock down. Baron's still available for 40 seconds, and they want to try to at least crack open another tier 2 turret.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Shun, he goes in on a Care with the ultimate, flashes away. Not another proc available just yet. Care should be going down, but look at the overload on the bot side that FPX is trying to make JDG match and pay for. They get that bot lane tier 2, and with the last bits of their Baron empowered recalls, will head most likely back to base. So we're missing. And Scout are going to try to cut them off here. There's a level 18 rise now. As he is very, very strong with the double. Here comes missing. The Magnestorm only finds one. Shadow dashes forward. Comes another knock up here, and it will be missing. Going down. Now the target is Scout. JDG are separated. It's FunPlus Phoenix gonna flash forward in onto Scout. The rise is down. The bailout will barely not save Assume, but here comes JDG, and it's Shun leading the charge, and Peyz doing a boatload of damage. What the hell happened? FPX are wiped.
FPX are wiped. It's just the cancel of those last couple of resets. They didn't want to leave a man behind. And unfortunately, everyone goes down with the ship. JDG able to find a very, very clumped up fight, where finally it feels like multiple members were able to get the damage out that we've been waiting for on these squishier members. And of course, the most important factor of all, it was a 4v5. It was the 5 versus 5. Start off with this pick here, and we'll see how it kicks off. It's just Shun being on the side of the map where obviously FPX aren't right now. Care. It's hard to really fault Care for a flank from behind it at this stage. So it's just really well played by Shun. Then this tower goes down, and you're thinking, well, JDG obviously want to come down here and maybe collapse. They don't want to leave Jwei or Sheer behind. Flash engage is interrupted. Great handshake. But then once this clump starts up, right, this massive chain of damage in a moment. Scout flashes away, but then it's here. I think Corki, the Gatling gun, Rise just before he dies, Jace, it's just too much. Shun as well. The AoE, everyone just gets a piece of FPX. As now, it's all going to come down to this. The Elder's up. Peyz.
Gotta be so careful.
His career, he's stepped up a few many times. Wow, don't want to make this a game in that history book, record book. Scouts on the top side. I think he's really torn between hitting this top tier 2. Actually being here, he's killing the red now instead, which is going to give his team the whole buff.
FPX, I feel like they want to just try to burst this down. They have the Callisto.
Yeah.
They'll be able to have an empowered smite almost if they're able to coordinate it properly. JDG want to prevent that from happening. They're going to come in from FPX territory from the red side jungle, but already that that dragon, I should say, the Elder at half HP, it's getting bursted down. It's just going to get secured as it looks like JDG just pulled away from it.
What? Okay.
Why did we fight? I guess, like, okay. Maybe they thought the steal was going to be very unlikely because of the fact that you had the Callisto
like, yes,
and the wall to help. I don't know.
Get Nash.
I feel like dying.
They're gonna get a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, you stay alive as JDG, but now you have to fight with the fight against the Elder Dragon buff in a 5v5, like you probably would have had to do anyway.
I mean,
for this Baron.
Fight the Elder and the Baron, because there's no way that JDG can test the team of Elder. There's no shot, not happening. So
they're up in gold, by the way.
Yeah.
JDG are up in gold. Don't feel like fighting for the Elder or the Baron.
They'll be down now, but
yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't really know what to say. It's like the spirit of the Rise Doimby hack has inhibited all of not inhibited, it's like possessed all of JDG to make sure that they're like CS'd up. Like, well played to them. A lot of credit has to be given for staying even in gold despite all of these massive macro wins that FPX have managed to find in terms of the objectives. But double Uber buffs. Yeah, and Oceans.
Redemption to heal up too. Weaver's wall comes out. Scout's in a big load of trouble. Has to go gold in early, but will be matched here by Sheer. He's forced to flash away. Will stay alive at the tier 2 towers at half HP. FPX, if they can potentially take this tower down, it could lead to what could be a game-breaking push for them. John waiting for a flank around the rapid pit. Scout was able to recall, head back to base, and pick up, of course, a little bit more of a refilled HP bar. But FPX, they don't want to relent on the pressure. They want to keep going.
Why do I feel like JDG are going to outlast this Elder and Baron? Because Elder's finishes at 15, so it's not exactly the most bold statement in the world. But then randomly turn this game and win. Why do I get this sinking gut feeling?
That sounds like a JDG thing to do.
It just unfortunately does, and I'm, you know, not self-proclaimed, but I'm a BLG fan. I've got PTSD from watching JDG play in situations where, you know, any other team in the world would probably lose. I mean, referencing 2023 JDG here, who is a completely different entity to this version of JDG.
But the spirit remains, right?
But the spirit, yeah, just if you wear that jersey, the badges on your chest. You know, it's like the Avatar.
Yeah.
When Aang sees all the previous benders, you just hand on your shoulder and you just turn around, you see every single previous iteration.
They're gonna have to dig deep and look for all those ancestors right now. Predecessors, I think is a better word. They're down pretty hard. Baron's up for another 30 seconds. There'll be one more wave to try to get their second inhibitor. They're pushing on multiple fronts right now. Nicely synced up by FPX on this push.
They are. Maybe walk in and break this one down. A little bit of brute forcing. They're going to get that done. Oh!
Wow. Shadow, a very aggressive flash on a Scout. And here comes Missing with the Magnus Storm to try and re-engage. Crescent Guard doing a lot. Another knockup lands in on the Scout, but there's not enough follow-up just yet. Seismic Shove is dodged away from by Shun. Here comes that ultimate here from Jwei. It only finds Missing, but that's enough for the inhibitor in the mid lane to go down as the Baron buff expires here for JDG. They'll make their way now down towards the bot tier 3. They want to try to suffocate JDG in their own base. Knockup lands onto Ala. Assume trying to lay the spears down. He gets revived via the Guardian Angel. Will it be enough here for FPX to try to win this fight? Shadow also gets procced by his GA, but it will maybe not matter. Missing's already dead. Knockup lands in. That's the crowd control chain onto Scout, but he is very tanky with the Seraph shield. Will be forced to go golden. Finally will fall. Shiver's massive on the front line, and nobody can take the Scion down. Man. That is another 4 kills going over here for FPX as soon as Shun goes down. Only Peyz is left alive, and it looks like FPX are going to try to continue their miracle run here in Split 2. They're going to get a win over JDG.
Game 1 is going to go to FPX, and I'll be damned, it was a fairly clean game. They've got to do it one more time. One more time, and their splits look pretty damn impressive so far. Can they upset the apple cart? Break JDG's lossless series streak because they've tainted their lossless series win streak.
Yeah, I mean, the first team to defeat JDG, it wasn't NIP, it wasn't WE obviously, it wasn't BLG, it was FunPlus Phoenix, and it was in game 1, and it went back and forth for a while here, Jamada, but in terms of, I think it really all turned around that Elder Dragon, where it was a couple of nicely played macro calls, and JDG just decided, we're not going to fight for that. We're going to instead try to turtle in. And you can turtle against a bad team, right? They won't be able to end. They won't be able to make those plays. FPX cannot consider them a bad team anymore after what we've seen from them over the past week.
FPX are sleeper good. They are sleeper good if they can maintain this form, you know. I mean, the thing is, unfortunately with this format, right, the top 4 is a really hard cut to make, right? It would be a bit of an oversell to say that they could make it into the top 4.
Yeah, for sure. They're already 1-4, so.
But saying that they'll make maybe, you know, break in to that 7th, maybe even 6th place spot if one of those, like, you know, spoke about the big circle of suck, right? The top 7. We love the top 7. There's so many good rosters here in the LPL. They currently kind of all beat each other / are close to each other. So if you're FPX and you're you know, going to 3 games against a lot of these teams, you manage to take this series, you go on to beat JDG, you start to shake the boat a little bit. The waters start to get a little bit uneasy, and maybe, just maybe, you can do a little bit of surprising here in the LPL.
Hey, that's a big win. Just the game so far here for FPX, but now again, even if they lose this series, which, you know, is still definitely on the cards, as we still think JDG is a very solid roster. I think it was just a couple of mistakes in terms of their macro play that led to that demise, that led to their demise right there. But that's another instance of FPX at least taking a game in every single Ascension series they've played except for 1. And that's a good sign. Even if you're not fully winning the series, it's just the first round robin. If you can continue to build on these results, continue to improve as a unit, as a 5-man stack. Remember, there's players like Sheer who are relatively inexperienced in the tier 1 level. Once you get around to the second round robin, you could all of a sudden be an even bigger threat.
There's always the chance, right? And it's always fun to watch teams like, especially, again, it's like a blessing and a curse of the format. Is it feels like with this kind of like setup of the top 10 teams, the bottom half of the table is going to get weeded out and kind of abused. to be honest, just straight up kind of abused by the top teams. But, you know, as the saying goes, pressure makes diamonds, right? FPX, if they could use this as kind of like a mini training arc, really start to build up and ramp up throughout not just this split, but then, you know, moving into summer, work with that momentum where, you know, it's a different format again, but one that will be, you know, one that they could potentially benefit from if they can keep up performances.
It's crazy to think how far this team has gone too. In Split 1, which was the group stage where everyone played the best of 5s against each other, they won 1 total game and lost 9. They got 3. They won 3-1. They lost 3-1 in one series and then lost 3-0 in the next 2. Then they barely finished 3rd in their group in the placement stages. And now they're taking games off of JDG. They just beat Weibo a couple days ago. A big turnaround here from this team, and I feel like everybody really deserves credit for how things have been able to be accomplished here for them. We saw a little bit of that up and down gold graph, but it really was around that Elder that things went towards really towards FPX.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, you mentioned all these previous series. FPX could have won basically all of them, except for the top esports one. The top esports one where that was the one that felt like it's the way that matchup should go, right?
And it's top esports, right? It's the
and
defending
yeah, like
champions.
as much as me as an LPL fan, you're always gonna have a very tough relationship with top esports, and if you're a top esports fan, then the relationship is even more complicated. But undeniably, right now, domestically, they are showing, you know, some of the more consistent performances out of the top teams. JDG obviously only a 3-game sample size behind some of the other teams that are kind of cruising at 5 in and around where they are already. So yeah, let's just see where they can go from here. 1-0 up FPX. You have to wonder what JDG look to do to adapt in this game number 2. The composition, I think, similarly to kind of the story of RNG's evening, a little bit difficult-ish to play. I wonder if they try and simplify things a little bit similarly to how FPX has, because tonight it feels like if you went draft to draft, the easier composition to play has just won. Genuinely,
I
I don't think there's been a comp that looked harder to play and won today.
Part of me gives JDG a bit of an excuse, because if you get the opportunity to get Nefiri and Jace on one, like, early on in the draft, like, you go with it and then try to fill it out afterwards. But maybe there are better ways to fill out the rest of the composition. I don't know. Here's another fight here. I think this is at the end of the game. Yeah, and it got close. I would say the GAs actually had huge value here on the members that were able to have it procced, but it ended up being still just domination. As Sheer, nobody could kill him, and he didn't even need a GA even if he had it.
I just want to see game 2. I want to see game 2. We're waiting on MVP before we head over to a break. Who do we think? I think it's a pretty close call.
There's a lot of people you could give it to here. I'm
gonna guess. You know what? I'm gonna randomly